And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
Today's guest is Anna Knapp. Anna had a near-death experience 3 years ago due to severe keto acidosis, and today we're going to learn about it. Anna, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
All right. As you know, my audience loves to hear about near-death experiences, so if you don't mind, can we start on the day yours happened?
I was sick for a week before, so I'm not clear on the date, but it was in August 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I started to lose my breathing abilities, and I knew that I was pretty sick and I needed to go get some help. And so I went to the emergency room in my local area and was told that if they didn't do something for me, that I wasn't even going to survive the night.
Oh.
So they put me in a medically induced coma, and they told me that when I wake up, if I wake up, I would wake up in a Green Bay hospital in Wisconsin. Because that was a bigger area and it was designed for traumas such as mine. So I don't know. I think it was like 3 or 4 days I was in that coma. But during that coma, that's when the experience occurred. And it was my mom's voice. And it was all audio. I didn't see myself floating up towards the ceiling or anything like that. But I did hear my mom's voice, and she had passed away 2 years prior.
Mm-hmm.
And she was booming. Voice was booming in my ears. Was pretty much, I couldn't even know where it was coming from. It was like everywhere. And it was, Anna, if you want to survive this, you're going to have to be strong and you're going to have to kick and fight. And she said, now get angry, Anna, and kick and fight. And in the background, my mom's voice was booming over top of my ears, over top of myself. And in the background, I heard angelic music. And I can't even describe how it was, except I can only describe it as angels singing. And I was totally like blissful. But then when my mom started to tell me to kick and fight and get angry, I had a overwhelming sense of anger. And I stayed angry for probably the month or so after I woke up, because it's been a tough struggle.
So when you say that you didn't see anything, was it like you were in blackness and you saw just blackness, or you just don't have any memory of sight at all?
I seen just blackness. I seen just blackness.
Maybe you were in the black void.
That, and I have heard of the black void, but sometimes people think that the black void's evil. I think I was basically at death's door.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did feel the overwhelming sense of peace and love. I wasn't alone. My mom was there with me. I'm guessing if I know for a fact that if I wouldn't have fought and kicked and struggled to survive, I would have crossed over.
Do you think at the time that all this was happening, did you remember that you had already been placed in a medically induced coma?
See, that was the confusing thing. Because when they first had to wake me up a few times to make sure that I had, some function of my brain left. And that was really confusing too, because they would only just wake me up a little bit. So I can remember like the nurses, they did, like, they moved me and then I was told by family members afterwards that were, my emergency contact, that I started to become combative. So they had to put me back under into my coma, which shows that I still had that fight.
So when you heard your mother's voice, was it more hearing it or feeling it, like your body would vibrate with the sound of her voice?
It was like through me. It was over top of me. I was like consumed in that voice. Mm. And then in the background, I heard the angelic music that I can only describe as angels singing. Mm. I know when I came out of my coma, they did lose a heartbeat for a little while on me, because when I was in the ICU, critical care ICU, they had the numbers over the bed, like the digital clock where they start it when your heart stops, and then just to see how long the heart was stopped.
Right.
And mine had like 6 seconds on it. Mm. So just very briefly, but maybe that's when I got angry, and it was an overwhelming sense of anger. Like no anger I ever felt before.
And
I had to struggle.
Did you have to think of something to make yourself angry, or did something already kind of bubble up to the top that you thought and remembered, and that triggered you to get anger?
I've never even experienced that type of anger before. I think that was my mom, maybe, or the universe, or it wasn't my time. Mm-hmm. And I know that I'm here for some reason. I think about my son, he was only 14 at the time, and I knew he needed me, but it wasn't like a conscious thought when I was like having my near-death experience. That was a thought that came later.
Were you already angry before this happened and you had repressed it?
No, I don't believe so, because I've worked with counselors almost all my life, and I think that would have came up like, during a therapy session of some sort. Mm-hmm. I think it was just something, it was insane, intense anger, like not even humanly possible anger. I mean, they would come into my hospital room and ask me to get up and walk in a walker, and I'd take that walker and I'd throw it across the room.
Wow.
I mean, I was super angry, and it took a while for that to like go away,
Did you have to do anything for that to go away, or did it naturally go on its own?
It just went on its own. I think probably it was fight or flight, and I was fighting.
Yeah.
Human survival.
Right. When you heard the angelic voices or the music, was there instrumentation with it or just voices singing?
I know a lot of musical instruments. Harps don't even come close. There's like, I can't think of any earthly object, instrument that comes close to that feeling or that sound, and how much feeling of love and acceptance there was when I heard that. Mm-hmm. I still tear up today trying to talk about it, because it was absolutely amazing.
So how have you changed as a person after your experience?
Oh, there's so many ways. I've become a highly empathic person. Sometimes I can't even, like, even a commercial, like the baby being born, it will make me cry. Happy tears, sad tears. I cried a drop of a hat. And this right here is kind of difficult for me not to cry. I'm sure you hear how my voice wavers. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I got into a near-death experience group, a few months afterwards. That's and I made a lot of different connections, and I've actually realized that I got some gifts that I brought back.
Like what?
Well, I can see some future events that are going to be happening. I mean, not clearly. Like if somebody says a word on TV, I'll say that same word or that very phrase just a couple seconds before, or even 30 seconds before. So I do that quite a bit. I can feel negative energy with people. It makes me physically sick. Sometimes I get blisters on my hands and feet just because of the negativities and the people. Because a lot of people nowadays, especially, are kind of negative, and that affects me profoundly. So that I had to cut off a lot of my friends, even some family members, because I just couldn't take it. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't gonna, let myself get drained because of it.
Did you tell your friends and family about your experience? And if so, how did they react to it?
Well, my sister's a narcissist, and I told her about it. And she tried to, say that she had a similar something or another, of course. My best friend at the time, she wanted to beat me up because I don't know. She's like, well, you can't leave me. You can't leave me. I don't know if it was fear, and she never struck me, but I mean, she was pretty mad.
Wow.
My parents were both dead at that time. So, I mean, but I have a lot of dreams, a lot of lucid dreaming, where usually my mom comes in my dreams almost every night. And we talk. Sometimes my dad shows up or whatever, but usually my mom is in almost all my dreams. And she's very, very close to me. I've always been able to smell her perfume or skin lotion, but after my near-death experience, it was a lot more often and very much more stronger.
Do you fear death anymore?
No, I don't fear death. I don't fear death. And the interesting thing is, when I was a younger child, young teenager, I liked to research near-death experiences. In fact, in high school, I did my thesis paper on near-death experiences. And then fast forward 25 plus years later, now I'm dating myself, and all of a sudden here I have one. So I'm wondering, I've heard a lot about life contracts. So, I mean, maybe perhaps that's why I, looked into them, as a younger teenager.
Would you say that you're glad you had one or not happy about having one?
Oh, it's a mixed blessing, I guess. My body still hasn't recovered completely. I had heart problems and diabetes before I had a near-death experience because the diabetes was directly linked to the ketoacidosis. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it. Anybody try to, because it's a long recovery road back.
Right.
And you change so profoundly that you can never go back to the way you were. But now I think, why would I want to?
Right. That's fascinating that you said that. So how have you changed, or in what way are you different now that you can never go back to the way you were?
Well, I've learned a lot of different things. I've been researching a lot of sound healing, not Western medicine at all. Back to the Native American Indians and their shamans and what they used to do. And because I am part Native American, So I feel kind of at home with that. I have reversed my diabetes just by thinking positive thoughts, and I am healthy. I have healthy blood sugars, and I use a Tibetan singing bowl and a tuning fork, 528 frequency, because that's the natural frequency of the planet. And it's just been amazing. My blood or my A1C was 5.9, and I mean that's it's diabetic, but it's not like I needed insulin or anything. But I was taking metformin, and 6 months later, after I started using these tools and thinking positive thoughts, that I am healthy and I have healthy blood sugar, and my A1C dropped to 5.4, from 5.9 to 5.4 in 6 months.
Wow.
It's impossible.
Wow.
My doctor said it's medically impossible.
You know what's an amazing synchronicity is? Yesterday, I recorded a podcast with a woman who does music therapy, and we were talking about bowls and stuff. Today, here we are, and it worked for you.
It works. It works. It does. I have heart problems. Last time I went to see my cardiologist, he wasn't even concerned. He goes, I don't know what you're doing. He goes, but your blood pressure is stable. I used to have, my heartbeats were arresting at 120 beats a minute, and now it's like 85. So that's a huge improvement. I didn't even need an EKG. He's like, I'm not even going to do an EKG. He goes, I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up.
That's amazing.
So he wasn't worried.
So you are diabetic free completely, not on any medication or anything now?
I am not on any medication. Wow. I just watch my diet and, just keep checking my sugars.
And you're using a 512 bowl? I think that's C, just your middle C.
At 528 tuning fork.
Okay, yeah, tuning fork.
Dang it.
Yeah, let's see what you do. How do you use that? Just like what you're doing?
Oh, this is an amazing thing. You can actually zap yourself with it. You can put it in spring water. Not tap water, completely 100% natural spring water in a glass, and ding it, and then put it in the water, and then drink the water. You're getting healing energies.
And so you do that and maybe give yourself positive affirmations like I'm healthy, I'm going to be well, stuff like that.
That's the ticket, yeah. That's because awesome. It's mind over matter. I mean, think about the placebo effect.
Yeah.
Some people get better, on the placebos, and they're just sugar pills.
How did you choose the 528 sound over another sound?
I've been talking to a lot of different people and actually researching it myself. Oh, okay. So, I mean, yeah, that's the best frequency.
Did you find out that maybe that frequency is good for diabetes or for cardiac problems?
For healing. It's good for healing. It's good to raise our vibrations because the planet needs it for sure. And everybody needs it right now, especially. It's do kindness, be kind to everybody. Smile, be grateful. Even, be grateful for what you have. Because, I mean, some people don't even have, what I have. And I don't have much, but what I do have, I own. And I'm very grateful. And if I decide to get into a slump and start feeling sorry for myself, then I think somebody that may be a quadriplegic in a wheelchair definitely have it better than that person or a street person. I mean, there's so many things to be grateful for, and people they don't look around anymore. I mean, it's too busy with schedules, and get back to nature.
Yeah.
Hug a tree.
What sent your body into ketoacidosis in the first place?
Well, that's a conversation that one of my family members like pretty much ate all my diabetic food, and I had like nothing to eat, so it was like starvation, metabolic, the ketoacidosis. All my levels were weird. My potassium was down. I think my sodium, they said, was 0.03% in my whole body. So I mean, yeah.
So I guess you weren't eating well and your blood chemistry got all out of whack.
Yeah, my blood basically turned into acid in my veins, is what I was told. And after they took me out of that coma, I forgot this one point. That was wow. The doctor came in a couple days after I was recovering and in a regular room, and he sat down and he said, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "You're the doctor that saved my life." And he was like in shock because by the time I got to that hospital, I was already in a medically induced coma.
Right.
But I don't know how I knew who he was.
Right.
And, I don't remember seeing or hearing him, but I knew who he was right away when he entered my room.
Wow. You say you can see stuff in the future. Have you seen any world events unfold that you saw prior?
No, I know that we're headed in a bad place. I know that.
Interesting.
I wish I'm trying to learn how to better develop it and possibly control it. So, maybe I can, do something more than I'm doing right now, which is I'm at the beginning of a long journey, so to speak. But I mean, yeah, every time I learn a little bit more, I can try to develop it a little bit more. So I have a better handle of the future events to unfold. So I don't know, maybe I don't want to know what's going to happen.
Right. What do you think inspires you about your experience?
Oh, just everything. The winds and the trees, the seasons. I am so into nature. I do a lot of meditation now. I don't know. The sun on my face is amazing. A lot of people, they go outside and they don't even feel them healing rays of the sun. Smell a rose, just everything about nature. And the sound frequencies are part of that. The tides, the waves and the lakes, the oceans, the moon, the stars.
If you met somebody who had an NDE 3 weeks ago and they were having trouble coming to grips with their experience, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, I definitely tell them to give it time, because it takes some time. Be careful who you talk to about it, for one, because I've had some people that, like my ex-best friend, who wasn't very nice to me, or my sister who tried to lie because she wanted to be just like me. Just, you got to be careful who you tell about it. Make sure it's somebody you trust, and give it time. You don't have to talk about it right away. It took me a few months before I even started talking about it. But be ready, because your life won't be the same afterwards.
Did you ever go through a period of self-doubt? For example, after you had your experience, were you thinking, was this real or was this just a dream?
No, that's a funny thing, because no, I never did. I never did, because I was under anesthesia, and when you have surgery, you don't dream. And a medically induced coma is basically them giving you anesthesia, just like surgery, and you know. But that's the medical part of it. But yeah, no, I never doubted it. And I'll never forget it. It's been 3 years. I still remember it like it just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes maybe I couldn't even tell you what I had for breakfast yesterday morning. But yeah, it's right there all the time.
Is it?
It's not like I constantly think about it, but right.
Is it something that you can't escape from?
I don't think it's a prison. I don't think I need to escape from it. I think that it helps me evolve, but people are evolving anyway, even without near-death experiences. That's evolution. It's sometimes we just change. We adapt. We're adaptable creatures.
Are you a religious or spiritual person?
It's very spiritual. I do believe in religion, of course. I've read parts of the Bible, but then I like to study different religions around the world, like the Greek mythology, Tibetan, Buddhist. It's been something that I've liked to do for a long time. When I was younger, my friend's idea of a Friday and Saturday night was going roller skating at the roller skating rink, and I just wanted to sit in a library and research. So I've been on. I don't know. I love knowledge. Mm-hmm. I think that knowledge is power, and the more we know, the more things that we can do, the more we grow.
I guess we're both dating ourselves, because it's interesting to think about the days pre-internet where you had to go to a library to look something up or get an encyclopedia or go to a bookstore.
Yep.
It's almost hard to remember those days.
Well, and I think, I think maybe there is a possibility that we're going to see those days come back. I do believe that.
I think where they're trying to go is eventually they want to wire our brains into the internet. That's like the next step. Is so instead of just your thumbs are too slow, so you could just think a question and then it comes up to you immediately.
Yeah, that's possible. And it's possible that it could have even already started.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we finish up here, do you have one last positive message that you want to share with everybody?
Raise your vibrations up, people. The world is in need right now. There's too much greed. There's too much violence. Make the change. Make the change.
Yeah, that was a great message. All right, Anna. Well, I wish you the best. Have a wonderful evening and take care.
You also. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.